Hello, my name is Robert Holland from SAP Insider, and today I'm speaking with Thierry Julien of TJC Group. Thierry is the CEO and co-founder. Thierry, welcome to the conversation. Great to have you with us today.
Thank you, Robert.
So let's jump right in. What do you see as the biggest business challenges or the business challenges that are having the biggest impact on the market where TJC Group is providing solutions?
If you look at our logo, our motto is because data matters. And our business is to deal with information that corporation creates. But in fact, I will say our business is providing peace of mind to corporation so they may solve business challenges, their business challenges. There was a time where shipping your trucks on the road on time with the right product, right quantity was the target. No, corporations sell individual items to customer with supply chain traceability while managing social network discussion. That's a massive difference in managed data. Like 25 years ago, you could run a worldwide corporation with less than a terabyte of server storage. And today, it's what corporations generate for breakfast. So we started removing data from SAP servers, so-called data archiving. We changed the game by providing automation. And this was our way to bring the peace of mind, I will say, number one. When you archive, you meet people who deal with old data, like internal auditors, tax auditors, and we change the game providing solution for them. Like if you go through a SAP tax audit preparation, if you need to generate standard audit file for tax, and we name this business to government, B2G activities. That's our peace of mind, number two. Then data privacy became a large topic, initially in Europe, but now in most countries, from California to Virginia or Saudi Arabia. Most countries, in fact. So we built on top of archiving offer and included data privacy through SAP ILM. And again, we automated this. Peace of mind, number three. Then we realized a major issue was leftover legacy systems. And we built a solution just for that, for decommissioning legacy system. And that's, I think, peace of mind number four. So I will say, back to your question, we are in the peace of mind business for IT organization, because you don't solve business challenges when dragged down by slow system, tax and data privacy issue, and technical debt. So here where our impact is.
Yeah, and there's a lot of very important challenges that we see organizations facing today. I mean, the move to SAP S/4HANA is very much part of decommissioning legacy systems, ensuring that your data is archived appropriately for data privacy reasons. GDPR was obviously important in Europe and for organizations operating in Europe. But now, as you say, the Virginia and California data privacy laws have gone into effect. The Colorado one's going into effect in July. There's a lot of organizations operating in the US have to be just as aware of these things as organizations operating in Europe. So there's a lot of peace of mind you have to bring around these topics.
True, yeah.
So you talked about these four major areas in which you're bringing peace of mind to organizations. How do you see, what are the strategies that you sort of see them employing to try and address those challenges?
Well, for long, we've been providing solutions to customer pain points, such as when you pay too much on architecture or too much on memory, or when you're trapped into legal constraints or being forced to send information to tax authorities. So it was useful services, but not at a strategic level. Now it's different for data privacy requirement and system decommissioning, because part of the solution we built is defined through the top-down approach. So the strategy employed by an organization triggers the solution we set up. Let me, if you want, focus on decom today. We are discussing with three types of organization at different maturity level. Some organizations do have a corporate decom strategy. They identify legacy and future legacy, They come with typically 5 to 200 legacy system or future legacy system, and they want a corporate program to deal with this. Other corporations just want to deal with a specific legacy system. Typically, a VM legacy running on Windows Server 2003 is a good candidate due to security issues. I mean, you can corrupt your complete hyperscaler with just an old VM. So those companies, some companies are just here for a fix. Others will see this as a pilot, the first step into a decom strategy. But the largest part clearly are, as you mentioned, SAP customers targeting or implementing a move to S4. And for me, this is an issue because we see corporations embedding archive and decom in a migration project, where for me, the only and single question should be, how can they build a great S4 system to run their company in an optimized way in the futures? So corporations should focus on migration, not on decom, which may seem bizarre because we are providing decom solution, but they should focus on migration. And at the same time, you just can't bypass end of line for ECC, CRM, SRM system, who have been the core of your IT for decades. I mean, if you believe you can just get rid of them, we need to talk, because it's not true. But so the move to S4 is probably the best time for a company to set up a decom strategy. And in fact, it's a great point, and it will ease your S4 migration regardless of your migration path.
Getting at the question of why they're archiving data as they move to a solution like SAP S/4HANA.
Okay. First one, when you move to S/4HANA, really you're not bothering about traceability issue, etc. You're really trying to move the data you need to do your business in the futures. And effectively, most of the times you don't want to take too many data back, maybe 1 or 2 years, maybe just open data, but you don't want to get 20 years back of information. But at some point of time, you may need those information. So kind of a legacy system like ELSA can allow you to have a cheap way, I would say, to keep all the information and to work on this. I will say maybe decom solution, you need to address 4 topics if you allow me. First, you need to help answering business question. The usual question, what was the sales order? And the unexpected question. I call this a CEO question, like, question your boss is asking and you need to answer, but you never thought you could have this question. The second point, you need to be able to get your data with you, and you need to be able to trust the data, because you'll also have to send the data, to bring the data to tax authorities like customs, tax, and tax authorities, they don't believe you. So you need to prove them the data is trustable, and they need to trust you on this. So you need to bring proof. Third topic, you need to comply with law and regulation. Data privacy is one, but not the only one. And the next one is you need to be compatible with your corporate IT. So when you move to S4, you left behind your legacy system, content server, ECC, CRM, SRM, maybe non-SAP system as well. And the new system may contain part, even all the data of the legacy system, but the migration process is not intended to build a traceability. So even when people go through a classical technical brownfield migration, data may be changed or filtered. So external audit will take place on legacy unless you get a tax archive. So let's assume you need to keep your legacy for 7 years. And this is probably an understatement if you deal with an international corporation. But you will need, without ELSA, you will need applying all data privacy regulation to those legacies. and to apply all security correction to the server, the operating systems, the network and storage. And ultimately, because 7 years is a long time, you will have to move to cloud or to replace your hardware. So that's a lot of things to do with an outdated technology. So definitely archiving and decommissioning makes sense when moving to S4.
Yeah, and those are all super important points, right? I mean, you need to be able to, because I think people forget sometimes that the move to SAP S/4HANA, even if you do a brownfield migration, it's not an upgrade, right? There is no data, there's no traceability and auditability in that data move. You're going to a new product, and it might be a straightforward, simple as possible from a move standpoint, but you have to ensure that you maintain that data integrity from an audit standpoint and from a tax standpoint, right? That's a big challenge.
Yeah, something people often don't see in the first place is if you are a tax auditor, what you're asking is to be able to see the data since the origin in the system.
Mm.
And so if you implement if you create your data in ECC and you move it to S4 and you show it in S4, then your tax auditors can say, okay, I see the data in S4, but I need to see it from the origin. So show me the data in the ECC system. So the only way to get rid of the ECC system is to have a tax archive. And part of what ELSA does is a native tax archive. That's the beauty of it. One of the beauty of it.
Yeah, it's super important. And I also, as I think you sort of touched on, very much in an area where people are managing data privacy, data residency, data sovereignty. I mean, ELSA is also a very important in those aspects as well, right?
Yeah, but I will say, do I have 3 days for this? Because okay. I think you mentioned data residency, sovereignty, and privacy. So data residency, well, when you start from a worldwide SAP system with an already centralized database, that's a tough start compared to residency. So historically, some requirement could be applied to document only. And then for us, it's an easy one. You store ELSA documents in a different blob or content server, the same as you did before, and you fix it. About residency, when we are lucky, the question is more, you also need to store the information in my country instead of you only need, or you only must store the information in my country. So if we are lucky, then you may carve out some data and related document and store an ELSA workspace in another cloud data center. That's also an easy one. Your second topic was data sovereignty. So not only about physical and geographical access, but also about applicable laws and regulation. And so before data privacy regulation, it was about forcing to keep information for at least some time. So read my lips, because I was not required to delete information after so many years. I was required to keep it for at least so many years, because another regulation or an exception could still require the information. Maybe one example, if I take tax audit in France, okay, a bizarre country, by the way. It's possible for tax auditor in France to audit a corporation for 3 years plus current years. That's the usual rules, unless you bring back deficit from previous years. And that's the exception. And for this, you are entitled to audit additional years. But if you purchase a building, then construction law apply. And we have 78 codes applicable. So in this case, retention is now up to 25 years because it's another regulation. And when you deal with SAP international system, knowing what regulation apply is not an easy one. Just an example for company using ACP plant abroad. Stock in a plant may not belong to the company the plant is related to. What country do you apply? Country regulation do you apply? So here what ELSA does, it provides you with a tax archive. We prove data is here, maybe for longer than you need, but you're safe during tax audit. So you also comply with cross-country and cross-regulation requirements, and that's a great achievement. Now, the last one was data privacy. And here, you have an obligation to delete, anonymize, pseudo-anonymize. So when you run a SAP system, you implement SAP ILM retention management. If you delete a customer, you need to delete all related transactions, like all sales order, for this customer before you may delete the customer itself. And it makes perfect sense, as SAP needs to keep database integrity or business integrity. So it makes complex projects, and we know because it's our job. As I said before, we automate this. But with ELSA, okay, you may implement this like an ILM project at archive object level, but you can also do it as a table level or even at field level. Like for the customer, you just remove the name of the customer in the sales order and in the customer record, to make it simple. You can even target a single person. If you have just a European customer, you just deal with this single person without a big project. So back to your question, ELSA covers data residency, sovereignty, and privacy in a cost-effective way, as much as regulation alone. That's a key difference. Maybe let me explain. We've been discussing for 20 plus years with people fearing of missing out ACP data and document, finance, sales, quality manager. We work with tax experts who explain us the logic behind the regulation. So we've been looking for this decom market for 15 years, what SAP did, what IBM did, what the Big Four did, and so on. Remember the 4 topics solution needs to provide. So answering business question. We needed an agnostic, training-free solution. For instance, we don't cut and paste SAP legacy solution that no one will remember. People that will look in legacy systems, they are probably still at the university. They are not the GUI expert from today. Second, the decom solution has to provide you with data you can trust and bring this data to authorities. So we do this being a native tax archive. So third, being compatible with your corporate IT. Like, we are not an Azure apps or Azure-based apps. We run on Azure, but you can also use any other hyperscaler. You can run on cloud or on-premise. So it's okay if you are a government or working for a Department of Defense. We even speak with people who are working with 2 Department of Defense of 2 countries. So you own the data. But the last topic, so already covering all this is not easy, but last topics, you have to comply with the law and regulation. And remember, 2018 was the start of European data privacy regulation enforcement. This is where everything's changed. Before, you could put a legacy system in a virtual machine and keep it here. But from 2018, you need a purpose to keep the data, and you have to delete some personal information. And legacy systems are not designed for this. It costs a fortune just to run a data privacy project on an SAP system. So if it's an old one, you need to upgrade it on the first place. So think about it about a minute. How do you keep data as a tax archive, meaning it's complete and without any change, while at the same time enforcing anonymization and description for data privacy? Kind of, how do you change stuff without changing them? And it's only once we answered this question that we knew we had a unique solution, and we embarked on our biggest development project ever. This was back in 2018.
I think we've kind of already answered this question, but just to sort of wrap it up, obviously anyone who, you said 2018 was sort of the big start changing factor for you, for ELSA, in that it was the introduction of European data privacy laws. But obviously those are now starting to come into effect in every country, right? The US, many other locations around the world. Is that why ELSA is just as relevant to organizations that are located outside of Europe as those that are in Europe?
Well, I will say SAP and cloud technology are relevant worldwide in the first place. So I remember we installed a tax audit preparation solution in a Chinese server for a Japanese corporation because of a UK-based audit program that went global. So even with what's probably our most country-specific activity, like business to government, yes, regulations are different, but tax authorities worldwide have the same target: get money from taxpayers to government and prevent fraud. And they also use the same technology and the same logic. So a lot of things are in common. I've installed SAP solution in more than 25 countries. I think I've lived 3 years in the US working for Capgemini and Andersen. I never thought of our solution as a European solution, or ACP as a European software. So what's good about that is that with digital marketing, we now get direct contact from customers in Brazil, Mexico, Canada, Saudi Arabia, I already mentioned, and other locations. So it seems a good sign that ELSA is relevant worldwide, but to be honest, I had no doubt. So if you allow me a little bit more, I believe enterprise legacy software are just a new software category, like ERP or CRM, and they will help business get access to information, help cooperation, protecting their assets from regulation, and free IT from technical debt. So I will say today, let's every business focus on business challenges that will make them unique. Game changer as for implementation, for instance. And as a company, we can assist those customers in focusing the attention on the futures while we secure the history. I mean, again, it's about peace of mind.
All right. Well, Thierry, thank you so much for talking with us today and talking with the SAP Insider community. It's been a pleasure to have you and very informative.
It was a pleasure to have you as an interviewer. So thanks for your question.
Thank you.